Yeah, hi, Katja. I'm here in I'm here at just under 2,000 meters above sea level. We're about to talk with some of the members from Tau-Rema, which is the coffee that you supported us with this year, which we brought in from last year's harvest. So yeah, we're just under 2,000 meters above sea level. We have that way we're looking towards the north, and just that way we're going towards Australia. And we're coming to the end of the harvest here. There's still some coffee here at the moment, which we're about to go and have a look at. So ordinarily there would be three harvests in one season here. This year there's been two. There was some very heavy rain 2 weeks ago, which meant that the farmers needed to pick everything quickly. So it's been a bit of a shorter harvest, but it's still been a very positive one. I'm just going to have a little look behind so you can see where we're at. We've got our coffee forest behind, and I'm about to take a walk in there to introduce you to the most important person that you'll be speaking with today, which is Mount Dominguez, who is the lead farmer from Tau-Rema, and some of his colleagues are here. I think we'll have Kar Yee in the camera, if that's okay. And please feel free to ask any questions. This is the first time that Dominguez has done this, so he might be a little shy. So no problem, and we can do our best to bring him out.
I'm shy too. We're super excited to be with you today. I mean, thank you so much for facilitating this.
Oh no, it's our pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. Anything that we can do to just bring Timor Leste a little bit closer to our partner is great, but also for you to give some exposure to Timor. It's really appreciated. So I'm going to turn the camera around, and coming around, the coffee coming through, and what do we have here? Okay.
The picture is stuck, I'm afraid. But hello?
Manakayi?
Hello, can you hear?
Hey, sorry.
Hi, can you hear me now? It's better.
Yes, I can. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. So what we'll do, I guess, as Stuart said, I'll give Man Dominguez here the opportunity to have a chat with you, do a little introduction about himself and the coffee, and then feel free to ask any questions, and I'll try to translate as much as I can. Do you want to give him a little introduction about yourself, and then I can try and translate that for you?
Absolutely. Hello, Man Domingos. Hello, family. I'm very excited to meet you today. Hi, I'm Katja. My company is called Kontext Coffee Company, and I had the absolute pleasure of roasting and selling and serving your coffee at the beginning of this year. And my customers absolutely loved your coffee from Tau-Rema, and they're still asking for it. So I'm really excited to have it back in my roastery, hopefully early next year when it's landed in the UK. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to meet you.
Mananin and Katja, ni company ni naran Kontext Coffee. So nia pointina ne commence sosa iminia cafe husi Tau-Rema ne contentelos sama nia Hanoi iminia cafe sabo gostilos ne nia cliente se max sosa iminia cafe sera contentelos no Hanoi gostilos no hakera continue belle sosa agora nia sona hotuona and nia ansi no hein tinene nia cafe beleto Inglaterra.
A minha tradição também agora né bele agora tina agora lá hansan tina ulu a minha tina agora lá hansan tina nulu para agora tina nida agora né minus nebe ami bele explica ba den itoang ka barak mos ami bele ajura ba tinan bakot palma kami wendian kata makasta itoang ka buenamente.
Okay, so what I'm just gonna move over here. So what Man Dominguez said that he's very thankful for your support and all of your customers' support in buying and drinking the Tau-Rema. He's saying that maybe this year they've seen a little bit of a change in the climate, which means that it has impacted a little bit on the yield coming from the trees. But they are doing their best to continue to be able to process the coffee to the same standard that you had from last year, and to be able to continue to improve and increase on that so that we can continue to support you and serve it in offering you brilliant coffee from Tau-Rema.
That sounds great. Thank you for your hard work.
Maybe Mount can give an introduction to his family here.
And then ito bele for introduction ita kontra ita no ne familia hotu o membro grupo.
Maybe Bele, my basically, my hamutuk, my basically. La precisa qual con about tinanida ni serviço, maybe primeiro for introduction no mana Bele conheceimi liu, ah? Because agora será conheceimi, yeah? Sim, for narang.
How ne naran tarde mana how ne naran Domingos de Jesus Lima.
So he said, "Good afternoon. My name is Domingos de Jesus
Lima.
the Fifth."
Depois?
Eu obrigado, mamana. Ao naran completo Alberto Maia de Diva.
Name is Alberto Maia.
Perre mana. Ang naran Pedro Pereira.
Good afternoon. I think you can catch their names, right?
Tarde mana.
Yeah.
Ang naran Deus.
This is Mario today.
No, imi halo saída, imi ni serviço saída.
Amnya serviço alkekoto tamba lor nami hamos kafe dud ami ku kafe ami kuda kakeo lor.
Okay.
So their work, their jobs are as farmers, because every day they come into the coffee forests where they are pruning, maintaining their trees, cleaning the land, planting more shade trees, and just working the land to ensure that their coffee is productive as it is every year, as much as they can do. So yeah, they are hardworking farmers.
Before you ask some questions, maybe I've just because it's quite nice to come into this coffee forest here, and it's very clean, which isn't the case in all coffee forests in Timor. So it would just be nice if Domingos can elaborate a bit, if that's okay with you, about the importance of rehabilitation. Do you mind if we ask him to talk about that a little?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you just ask him to elaborate on why?
Manita bele explica tuan kono ba minia serviço onsa ita halo rehabilitação o ita hamos ita ne café tosca.
Também importante.
Tamba amne kafe importante liu. Am tinggi serviço hadia. Atunne kafe ne sai qualidade dia ba mang mana sira bele atusos.
Ita halo serviço saída ga.
Serviço manesan udan me hamos hadian kafe are kuda fale noan hare rai fuik sirne mama aiwan sira utama bele kuda kake uba atunune bele kuda kafe ba.
So they come into their coffee forests every day so that they can ensure that their trees remain healthy and strong, to ensure that every year when the coffee harvest comes round, they can gain the best benefits from their coffee trees and be able to produce the best quality of coffee that they can. So the work that they do to maintain their coffee, they will come every day. Well, especially during the rainy season, they will come in and clear the land of all the weeds, and then all these weeds will get kind of used as natural fertilizer, which they will bundle at the bottom, at the base of the trees, which you can see, which will then degrade and then, I guess, give back the nutrients to the land, which will then feed the trees to be able to produce the fruit, which we then pick and process into coffee. But also this will include planting seedlings. So they will always look and try to replant new seedlings every year to replace trees that are too old, which they will remove and then replace with a new seedling. And they will also look at planting new shade trees where possible as well, because to plant these shade trees, like the casuarina trees, for example, you need to let them grow for like 10 years before they are really kind of useful in providing the shade to the
I'm just going to ask when Domingos planted the shade trees behind, so we can get some idea how long that it takes for them to grow to this height. And they're probably a good 12 to 15 meters. Now, Domingos, when hira itinia familia, kuda, aikakeu hanasane, tinan 5 kotuk, tinan 10 kotuk?
Tinan 10 kotuk.
Okay, so they planted the shade trees 10 years ago. Which gives it's pretty quick growth.
Long-term project.
It's a long-term process. So 11 years ago, this would have been a completely open space. They've planted the shade trees. So cada aikakeu, ito precisa 1.5 metros kahat, depois ite bele kuda aikakeu seluk. Okay, so they're saying that they probably need about 6 meters apart, and then under that, once the depois ita kuda aikakeu, ita precisa hein tinan hira to ita bele kuda cafe uan. Sorry, Hayan, I'll just ask the question, how long do you have to wait after you've planted the shade tree to then plant the coffee trees? Bele fora postama?
Ami kuda kakeo tinan sanolo poin hareba kebo raya poko mak poin kuda kakeo taham tu.
Sim.
Ne
depois ku cafe oan. Oh, wow. Então precisa tinan sanulu, yes?
Sanulu.
Wow, okay. So they will plant the trees, the shade trees, and then they will wait for an average of around 10 years before they will then plant the coffee seedlings. So they will actually wait until the leaves, the pines, I guess, the pines from the tree, from the shade tree, when they start to drop their pines is when they will then start to plant new seedlings in the ground. Okay. So it's a long process in preparing to plant a new kind of coffee plantation.
And how long have they been growing coffee? How long have Mount Domingos and the gang been growing coffee up there?
Well, basically,
familia or imi member grupo hotu, imi processo café agora tinan hiraga. Imi ne avo comenzaciono o imi
avo comenzaciona.
Então,
ya menianona.
Tinan barakona.
Tinan avo sir ni hakrai.
Sim.
Ne haumakuda.
Oh, ito kudaga.
Haumakuda.
Oh, okay. So they're from their grandmothers era, that generation, they started planting the coffee trees. But actually this plantation here that we're standing in, Ma Mario actually planted this.
Ah, all right. It looks beautiful.
Ito kuda aikakeu mos.
kuda kakeo, kuda kafe.
No, hotu.
Hotu.
Okay.
So he planted
He
the
planted
whole
everything.
Wow. So he planted this whole plantation, which is the equivalent of 1 hectare. So he
Wow.
planted the shade tree and he planted the coffee trees himself. His
Amazing.
grandparents planted from further down below.
All right.
So it up further. Yeah.
All right.
Bang
Wow.
Domingo, mos mal naman, imi hakadak hatan information, no fahe information humana, kona ba ay kakeo o kafe huni, honey?
O imi near Hanoi kona ba cafe near Makadu. Contente bele serviço ho café.
Ami contente tambah mana homau o amnia mana tambah hola amnia café ya grupo Tau-Rema tambah ami serviço ami agradecer dia tambah mana homau bela juga ba amnia café ba grupo Tau-Rema ba mana ami agradecer tambah qualidade dia. Ami siya mentan
Okay, well, it's just
So they just wanted to say that they're very thankful that I guess we, as in Stewart and I, have come and given them the support to be able to process their coffee, which then we can then export to the UK and pass it on to you, who can then sell their wonderful coffee to your lovely customers. So they're very thankful for that.
yeah.
And they will continue to work hard so that they continue year on year to be able to provide coffee from Tau-Rema.
Which is very nice, but get a more interesting question. Katja, please continue with any other questions that you have
Yes.
about the.
Would you let Mount Domingos and the other members of the group know that it's the other way around? We're really grateful to them for putting all of this hard work and like decades of work into growing this coffee and putting so much love and effort into their work, that it's at this quality, and that because we enjoy drinking it over here. It's a really beautiful coffee, so please let them know that I am grateful for their work.
Mana kaca ni dan katakan ni mos agradece ba imi tambah imi servisi bandinas no servisi itu dan no telefon ini qualidade as dan ni bele famba ni
Obrigado tambah ami agradecer tambah ami tos night ami hakara sabor polineri ami tos night
Amene tinggi poli.
Sim,
sabor dia tinggal poli
sim.
serviço ami bede serviço.
Well, yeah, imi hatemiona. Se kare kimi servisu toran no servisu barinas. No imi cafe ni qualidade as. How beli fam ba company sam manakacha no ami beli selu no heten fuk dan polindiak. Mi beli mai fali no continuous. So say imi cafe or polindiak. Just explain that to.
So Man Dominguez just said that he's thankful again. He's thankful that their hard work, I guess, is what supports their whole livelihood, right? So they live off of the earnings, the income that they make from their coffee. So by working hard, they're happy that they are able to receive a good price for their coffee, which then means that they can continue year on year to be able to put in the hard work with the coffee, and also to be able to maintain and obtain a good income from their coffee so that they can improve their standard of living, I guess.
Good. Yes,
And
that's
the idea
all our goal.
is like this, paying a good price.
Yeah, so they're thankful that you are happy to pay a good price for their coffee, which means that we are then able to continue to come back and give them the support that they need to be able to continue to process their coffee and export it to other markets, which I guess, of course, they would never be able to do by themselves, right?
Yeah, so just to elaborate on that a little bit, because we haven't published it yet on our website or on Instagram or anything like that, but last year's coffee price was $3 per kilo for parchment that we paid. We've gone up to $3.25 this year, which it'll be a slight increase to our partner roasters, but a 25 cents per kilo is a big difference to these guys. So when we started 5 years ago, our opening price was $2.85 for parchment, and we've consistently gone up 5 years in. So we're very proud of that, and we're hoping it's giving the motivation. Do you mind if we just go down the route of 1 hectare? Because I don't actually know the answer to this. I'm curious as to know, with 1 hectare, how much coffee Mario behind me thinks that plantation can return, and bearing in mind that 5 kilos of cherry for 1 kilo of parchment would return 800 grams of green bean. I'd be curious as to know what his answer to that will be. Can you?
Yeah. Mount Domingo, Mount Mario. How many? What's the yield for 1 hectare?
So as of last year, because they've only just started picking from this plantation for the first time last year, and it hasn't reached its full potential yet, because there are still some very young trees in this plantation, so they haven't started producing fruit. They were able to pick around 600 kilos of cherry last year.
Per hectare.
Yeah, in this 1 hectare plantation, but it's still increasing. It will increase as the trees grow.
Yeah, there's a lot of I'm just going to show you here, Katya, because there's a lot of very young coffee trees which that have yet to flower. So these won't flower until next year. So yeah, the answer to that question we won't know for another couple of years, but I'll be curious to come back and see how that's obviously increased. I think for our colleagues behind, each colleague will probably have between 2 to 4 hectares, I'm guessing, but we can ask.
hektar ida 60
Okay, so he's got like 1.7 hectares of coffee. Mario?
So Mount Mario has 4 hectares. And 1 hectare here, and 1 here. I think the point the reason I'm asking the question is, you can see if you only have 2 hectares and you're only getting a 600 kilo return, that's your livelihood for the year. That's just not good enough. So one of the reasons we're focusing on rehabilitation is to try to increase that yield per hectare, which is taking. I'm going to leave what you're going to ask.
Because basically, I mean, if you do the math, that means that 1 hectare doesn't even. Cause I ordered 180 kilos from you last year, and that's green coffee. So I mean, 1 hectare isn't enough for even just my order, and obviously. How many kilos of green coffee did you import from Tau-Rema last year in total?
From Tau-Rema last year, we had about 600 kilos from Tau-Rema last year.
So there are still
Yeah,
loads of
yeah.
potential for these guys to ramp up production as the breeds grow older and more mature and have more cherries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Something
I
to look
suppose
forward
at this point, it's something to look forward to. It's something that we have a responsibility to monitor, because recording data, it's just not done here. So companies like ours and other companies, whilst we're doing the rehabilitation, need to monitor over the coming years to see how we can increase that yield, but in a way that these guys start recording data, because I think they still think that it's an unnecessary task at the moment. But we're trying to say, listen, we have to record data year on year to see if the rehabilitation is working and how that impacts on your yearly household, which hopefully will start to see results with data within 2 years.
Yeah. I do have a question. Maybe if you don't mind, I think it would be really nice for our listeners to know a bit more about what your life with coffee looks up there, because you are quite remote. Your village is very high up in the mountains, and Stewart and Kar Yee have told me that during some periods throughout the year, it's actually quite hard to get up there. So what does your year with coffee look like in Tau-Rema? Maybe you can give us a bit of an overview.
And then si Fali pregunta konaba iminia Morris lihat Tau-Rema. Tambah durante tempo ku cafe imi mai lodan mai cafe larana. Mabe tempo udan kita most precisa halos saída. Tambah agora dalam rumah jalan at and itu labele sai husinega and itu nie Morris o insa o ita ya tinen toma kita precisa halo saída.
Ami kay loron ami ku cafe to udan mai ami tingi mai kafalaran bele kuda kontas talas cafe oa hamosnya dulu nekan lor pa uma moro kuda moro ia uma kuda moro qualquer saída de tine ami precisa
Kuda model depois fan or kuda by minhan data?
fan.
Okay. Yep. So during the dry season, which is in line with the coffee harvest time, they will come to the coffee forest every day, where they will continue to clear the land, remove the weeds, maintain their coffee trees, and process the coffee. So once the rains come, then that of course changes the work that they do. So they will continue to come into the coffee forests, but they will then focus on planting new seedlings. They will also plant other products or other, what do you call it? Crops. That's it. That's the word. Other crops in amongst the coffee. So they plant things like arrowroot, yams, sweet potatoes, and things like that in amongst the coffee. And then near to where they live, their house is like a 20-minute walk to the top of the hill, and then there they also plant other vegetables like leafy vegetables, where they can then plant them for their own consumption, but also so that they have something else to be able to sell at like the local market. Yeah, that's what they do all the time. It's all about the land and the agricultural aspects of sowing the land, planting, being able to provide themselves with a source of income throughout the year. Because of course, yes, during the rainy season, sometimes the road is completely kind of blocked, so they can't really leave from here. Sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah, so when the rains come, cars can't come.
Yeah, cars and trucks don't come here. You can maybe just about do it on a motorbike, but probably walking is best.
And what's from when to when is the dry season, and when's the rainy season?
Dalam rumah tempat udan começa bulan helaga. Oktober. Depois para bulan
Mayo.
Yeah. So it will start usually in around October and then maybe stops around April, May time.
Rain.
I'm just gonna ask a question to ask if they think that that's changing, because we think it might be, whether that be climate change or other reasons, or I don't know. But let's ask. Ma'am Domingos, kita hanuin agora tempo udan mai tadiliu no para tadiliu hanasan tinan lima kotu ko diferente agora.
Udan.
Sim, tempo udan.
Udan agora, kan?
Yeah, mai tadiliu, mai sediliu, para tadiliu, para sediliu.
Udan agora hanasan tinan ulu.
Okay, so they're saying there's no change. The rain comes, the rain goes. The rain comes, the rain
All right.
goes.
Yeah.
I don't think he's saying there's less of a set period when the rainy season comes. It kind of comes and goes and then comes back and then goes and comes back and then goes. So it doesn't. Yeah. There's no set kind of season for it anymore, where maybe it used to be that it was, during this time the rain comes and then the sun comes, but it's not like that anymore.
And during the rainy season, does that mean they're completely cut off then, or do they still scramble off the mountain to sell other produce at the local markets, or what does the rainy season look like for them in terms of getting around?
Durante tempo udan, ini belesai husi nega or precis or hey ini ha umadetka.
Udan mainnya kami precisa serviço. Sai bakalara. Patos lara. Ne para hadian.
Ma belle bato letifo hovile, por exemplo.
So domingo, sábado foi para mercado. Bajo la sasan, hola fos.
Lori motor bajo la fos.
Belle usa motoga or
Kuda.
Sin. Okay. So normally I think the rainy season does cause quite a problem, so it's difficult for them to be able to get out from via the normal routes of the roads, for example. So if they really need to get products, then they may have to scramble out over the rocks and things to be able to do that, but otherwise it's kind of mainly they have to stick out the rainy season and just be able to live off the land, really.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask next. Does that mean they grow all of their own food and it has to last all year round, essentially? Where is the next market town, the next opportunity to buy things for them?
Imi ba makadi halati for villaga. Okay, so the closest market area where they can go is actually in Letifoho Central Village area. From here is it's quite a distance. On foot is it would take a long time. So sometimes they use horses sometimes to be able to carry. So it's quite a distance though. It's maybe like a good 10 kilometers to walk.
Mau, bain durante udan mai, imi kura, imi ni hahan hotu, o imi precisa ba no sosa sasan.
Sosa fos.
Okay.
Sosa mina.
Okay.
Lori motor ba sosa.
Okay. So that's quite interesting because Timor imports a lot of its food, particularly rice. So the government will actually, they've just said they buy rice, but I know for a fact that the government also during times of difficulty during the rain season will give rice to the local communities as well. So if they will buy rice, but if times get really hard, they will get rice from the government. They also said that they buy cooking oil.
Maybe yeah, if they can talk a little bit more about their life up there in general, because it seems to me like it's compared to some of your other groups, it is harsher conditions to be so remote, no? So that would make a difference in how they do their jobs and how they get the coffee off the mountain and things like that. That would be really interesting to have a bit of an insight into.
Okay, let's carry on with that conversation.
Yeah.
Mana in iminia rai dokliu kumpara aminia grupo seluk. Então depois depois processo rotu oensa imi balik ku café depois filiba uma imi precisa halu saída.
Ami ku café filaba uma ami tem que pulas outro tempo e descansa.
Sim, oensa bale lori café ba uma.
Lori.
Sim.
Lori dah usai punya kabas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lori ia 40, 50 kilo.
Sim. Okay. No rai tetuk o rai lolon itu. Rai lolon
la vele darakura. Itu kan bele darakura ajuda. Rai lolon ami tengi.
Okay. Mana kaca hakara aprende liu kono ba imi moris no ahanoin susai tuan la facile. Okay. Do you want to translate that?
So yeah, I mean, I guess they are definitely a lot more remote than some of our other groups. So they are reliant a lot on coming into the coffee forests to be able to get their food sources. But I mean, I guess in general, when the coffee harvest comes, they will walk down into the coffee forest. They will pick off the trees, and then the only way for them to be able to get the coffee back to their house where they can then process is to literally carry the sacks on their backs and walk all the way back up the hill. So yeah, they'll often be carrying maybe 40 to 50 kilo sacks of cherry, which will then they'll have to walk slowly back up the hill, which is of course not flat, it's steep, so they can't even use their horses to help them to carry it back because the horses can't really go up as the slope, so they have to just carry it.
And that's a 20-minute walk.
Yeah, at least 20. I think this is the closest.
This is the closest toss or farm as they call it, so I'd be interested to hear them say where the other locations are. I know where they are, but I think let's ask.
That's a long walk to carry so much coffee. What's the longest distance you have to carry the freshly harvested cherries up into the village?
Please allow maybe minutu nulusin near Hanoi. Maybe it's near cafe.
Hai ne ora sida kare.
Ora sida.
Tu ni
Maybe sai fali.
Basic makane. Ne tinggi. Abo sir ne nulu ne do.
So this plantation may be 15 20 minutes to walk from their house currently. Their furthest coffee plantation is maybe an hour at least.
Wow.
To walk down the hill, right? So they have to get to walk 40 kilos of coffee on their backs, which takes them at least maybe 2 hours to be able to carry them after they harvested. And that's like a full day of picking that they're doing, and then having to walk for 2 hours to go back home to be able to then process the coffee.
So in one day they would pick 40 to 50 kilos of cherry, and then carry that on their backs into the village up a steep slope.
Mm-hmm.
And that's too steep for even horses
Yeah.
to manage.
Yeah, it's very steep here because it's on the mountainside. It's so steep. I'm just going to pass you over because can we just clarify again what we're talking about with the journey, right, with the coffee?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not easy, right? So they spend the whole day picking the cherries off the trees. I guess it varies in terms of how much they can pick in a day on average, depending on whether the trees are still fairly young and well maintained. Sometimes there are plantations where the trees are a lot taller, and then that's more difficult to be able to pick. So then maybe they will be harvesting around 40 or 50. If they are in a plantation where the trees are shorter and well maintained and probably fairly young still, then they can pick in a day maybe 100 kilos of red ripe cherry, which they then have to just carry back up the mountain on their backs.
But
So I think
it's
pretty big
always several people. It's not one person having. So they split the load then, but still, I mean, that's that's just unimaginable to do that day after day after day.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Depois it precisa
Lori.
So actually, it's 100 kilos per person, not in. So they don't share 20 kilos per person. It's actually like 100 kilos per person carrying it back up the mountain, sort of thing. So yeah, maybe that actually means they have to do 2 trips.
Wow.
Atas kilo itu precisa fazer dalam rua. Sim. Yeah.
Pele tautas sorry, Lori,
Sim. Okay, so yeah, if they end up with a large quantity each, then what they'll do is split it into smaller volume. Of course, they'll take the first lot a short distance, go back, pick up the rest, and bring it, and they'll just get up the hill like that. Yeah. La belle Hanoi. Serviço Hanisane, na?
Depois it sai husi tukuhira.
Tukuhitu.
Dare. So they leave their house at 7 o'clock in the morning to go into the coffee forest. And it sai husi cafe lara no filiba uma tukuhira.
Tukulima kilo.
Okay, so they're back home by 4.
Well, they don't leave until 4 or 5.
Okay, 4 or 5 o'clock. They're back at their house. Depois halu saída. Tukulima precisa halu saída.
Poti café, baumon.
Sim, bauma depois uma halu saída.
Dulas. Loriba, sehili.
Okay.
Pa fakartia hare mata kita munusala bakari.
Sim.
Ingi hili.
Okay. Ihakala. Okay, comienza tukuhira to
Tukulima va tukunen.
Tukunen to tukusanulu.
Sanulu resinida.
Okay, so from 5 till 7, they then use a pinera to sort like a sieve to sort the small cherries. Then they will they will pulp the coffee from 7 till 10 in the evening. Yeah, so it's
a long day's work.
So it's a long day's
long and hard day, yes. And that's not just one day. How long is the harvest season then? That's for months, is it?
Last Lauren in the date, semana hutu.
Semana
Lauren.
Nami bele kumisa. Tamba ida mesa Lauren bele kumisa. Se konfo hamutu Lauren ida idania.
Okay.
So mesa tanzania.
Tempo café continua ba fulan dua.
Lor.
Abe Tembuku Cafe Hotu durante bulan 2. Masih bulan 2 tolu. Ah, sim.
Ani tinggi serviço buka modalnya par Cina lor nam pane mercado.
Ah, sim.
Udan mai ori.
So, yeah, the harvest will usually last for around 2 months or so. So that's every day where they will continue to go and pick coffee and carry it back up to the top of the mountain. So literally, yeah. So they will just every day they'll do the same routine, and that's what they have to do to be able to, I guess, provide an income for themselves to be able to survive throughout the year.
Sorry, we're laughing here, Katja, because there's one of their colleagues is just down there. Actually, he's lucky enough to. Can you see that or not? There's one of their
colleagues. Coffee trees.
Well, maybe it's too far for the camera, but there's one of their colleagues is just returning from the coffee with some sacks. And there's only one way to call people in the forests, because ordinarily most of our guys don't have a telephone, so you have to shout. It's called bolu, you have to shout, but I've been practicing, so I'm gonna demonstrate how koko bolu maun bele for attending my house hello dia ko la dia
Lucas
dia kala
La Rona.
Lian Mo.
They said I had a clean voice with that one.
I love it.
Good. I don't think he recognized who it was, so he didn't call back.
Okay. Continue with the. Any more questions, Katja would like?
Do you have any more?
Do you know the elevation that they have to? If the village is at the top of the hill, how steep? Like, what's the elevation they have to walk then with the coffee on their back?
The top of the mountain, you're talking close to 2,000 meters above sea level, right? So I guess they're going from probably like 1,850 meters to the top of like 2,000. Yeah, it's quite an altitude. It's not easy, definitely, just to walk it, let alone to carry a huge sack of cherries on your back and then go back up to the top of the peak. But yeah,
well, I mean, then I mean, I don't know.
They do every day. That's like.
I don't know if it's really a choice, but then from our perspective on this end of the value chain, the question is: do you like growing coffee, or would you rather, if you had a choice, grow something else and make a living a different way? Because it sounds like hard work.
Good question.
Nia Hanoi and Eminia Civisu Todan Liu, and Tania Husifali Kalek me.
Oh, Butari, Mandekalai. Boy, my family who's Capelalan. I don't know if you can see the horse there, Katja. It's just coming through.
I think the white.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Disculpa.
So they said that yes, they are very happy to be working with coffee, and they wouldn't change that at all.
Maun, beli aumenta no fahim information liu kuno ba tambasan naturaleza importante ba imi Hanoi naturaleza importante maybe Emma who singutela sedau ka comprende kuno ba imi café hotu organico lausa chemica também imi hadomi imi arai so imi ha connexion dia ko imi arai los colai bele explica tambasan naturaleza importante tamba natureza no café Hanesana. Okay, bele explica então mana bele comprende liu. I'll just explain. Katja, I've just asked a question which adds to your original question. Why do they love working with coffee? And for me, I think the answer we've had from other groups is to do with their respect for Mother Nature, which comes from animism, which, although it's a predominantly Catholic country, animism has been here for, more than 1,000 years. We know that. So I'm curious as for him just to touch on the question that you asked, but explain a bit more about their connection to the land, because I think that's where the love for their work comes from. Domingos, pwede explique tuan no mas mamareo kon ba natureza, no também sa natureza importante ba ini.
Natureza ne ami nesami fierro disande. Bau mo disande.
Sì.
Disamba maroma tamba serviço pa tudo nami para mim dia saúde habis.
Nomos natureza bele
Ajuda.
Maybe nomos natureza lahuluha kono ba iminia avo, huh?
Avo
Biasa.
Sì.
Daddy.
Okay, you just
yeah, so I guess they do have a huge respect for Mother Nature and for the land. I guess in their viewpoint, the coffee for them is kind of their gift from God,
that's what he
they've
said,
been given. And so they work the land, they work the coffee, because that is their kind of legacy from their ancestors, and that's what they're able to continue and be able to pass to their children as well. So yeah, they just that is it's all one big cycle that, you know, it's a kind of regeneration, revolving, kind of passing it on for the next generation sort of thing. So
and the next generation, Katja, have just arrived behind me. They're hiding behind the coffee trees. They're a bit shy.
We did see them earlier in the beginning.
What that? No, these are some new colleagues who have.
Okay. Younger
they've been helping out with the family. They've also, after school, they go into the coffee with their parents, and there's an expectation for children to help with family chores, much like I had to wash the car on a Sunday.
Yeah.
The kids here, work hard. They work hard. The family and the children are expected to support, which is very different from child labour. It's not child labour. It's children being required to help support their household. They still go to school.
It's a way of learning as well, isn't it? It's a way of learning how to work with nature and how to grow the coffee from a young age.
Yeah, I mean, you've said it better than I could have done. It's exactly that. I mean, there's an expectation for children to go to school in the morning and learn, and that's important, to learn to read and write. But as Kar Yee said, the legacy to learn about what's in the forest aside from coffee and what Mother Nature has given them is equally important.
Where is school then? Where do the kids go to school? Is there a school in the village?
Sila ba sekolah yang lebih?
Kumba Excel.
In the next village, sila precisa Lao. Lao menuju sila ba Mesak. So they go to school in the next village, which they walk by themselves to school, which takes them an hour to get there. So in the rain, they will take them. But if it's good weather and it's sunny, then the kids will just walk by themselves.
Yeah. And maybe just
stuff.
Sorry, say that again.
They're made of tough stuff here.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I was just thinking, I can't imagine any kids here in the UK or anywhere in Europe having to walk for an hour just to get to school. I think they would go on strike.
Yeah. Noin balik sila ha Inglaterra ka Europa sila la koi lawa. Kadek sila precisa lau oras Ira sila labay sekolah.
Imini umihabe o imi precisa kudabe?
Yabe.
Umihabe.
Yeah.
Nomos ahi? Yeah, ahi. Okay. Yeah, so I've just asked. I think it relates to that question that you asked earlier about the reality of the wet season. So they have recently had water installed to a central point. Actually, it's near where the water is processed. There's no where the coffee is processed, but the village is yet to have electricity installed. So in the evening, there's no electricity. So it will be if that some of our partners will have solar panels. Some have yet to be able to get those. Katya, I'm aware of the fact that I think these guys need to get back and process some coffee now.
Yes, I was just going to say, what time is it over there at the moment?
It's agora tukihira. Tukulima. It's 5 o'clock in the late afternoon. But maybe one last question before we say our goodbyes. Would you like to ask one last question?
Yeah, I was actually just gonna ask. It's 5 o'clock over there now. Does that mean you've already had a full day of picking coffee and are now taking time to speak with me and going back to process the coffee that you've harvested today?
Nia hisifali tamba agora tukulima ona. Imi ohin ba no ku cafe ga?
Ohin am babae tamba descansa.
Descansa. Okay, and then you say hey in cafe tasak the boys. So today they gave themselves a rest day in honor of talking to you. But also they recently did the first pick from the coffee forest at the moment. So they're just waiting for a little bit longer before they do the second pick for the cherries to really ripen and get red before they go back to picking.
That makes sense.
Again. So
well, please let them know that
well rested today.
Yes. Please let them know that I loved their coffee before we spoke and before I met them. But now that I know, I mean, that it's not just hard work, but really back-breaking work they do every day during the harvest season. I just really appreciate all the effort that goes into it. And I can't wait to share their story with my friends and customers.
Nia Hanoyen, antes nia qualia ohin ho imi, nia Hanoyen nia nia contente tamban imi nia cafe gostilos. Be agora nia contente los tamba nia bele cognese imi, no bele comprende diaglio conaba imi nia mores, no imi nia servicio ho cafe. Nia agradece no contente tamba imi servicio todan. And nia agora contente belle continua cosa fali e nia cafe hisi Tau-Rema no fan fali no fo fali ba nia cliente no belle explica fali no conta fali e mini storia e mini amores ba nia collega sera.
Are there any questions that you have for me, maybe?
Imi iha pregunta hakarakusi ba mana antes amiba?
Amini hakara kian bau ini hakara kami kusi sama material bahwa di hadian kafe.
Oh, okay.
Material.
Okay.
Imi precisa husu ami manos mana.
Okay, so yeah, they don't really have any questions, just in terms of probably more question for us in terms of the support, the additional support we can provide them in terms of providing more materials to be able to continue to process their coffee to the high standard that you now know it to be, and to be able to increase in terms of the quantities that they can produce as well. So a question for us rather than for you. Maybe.
But now I need to expand the question. Imi precisa ami for saída agora. Imi mente saída.
Au hakar precisa dia mana dia ajuda lai batira
Maybe ready, Baldi? Or...
Bali. Ni bele.
Okay.
O ita fo convita ba nia bele mai no serviço hamilton ko imi no process cafe. Yeah, so yes, they were asking, of course, for more kind of raised beds and the large buckets that they do the fermentation in, but also they are inviting you to come and work the harvest with them if you would like.
I would love that, actually. Tell them that I have to get a bit stronger and do some training before I can come. But I would love to come and help.
Nia contente kada bele mai no visitor no ajuda ho ini prosesi cafe. Maybe precisa tempo tambah nia precisa hadiah nia isin bele cafe. Ini agora igual
kilo atus 50.
atas 50.
Ami lorong kawan ni kan ni.
Bele fahi itini uat. Inglaterra ni uat. Just ask him to share his muscles with your viewers in England. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you.
I think that they're really happy to have had the chance to speak to you as well. And thank you for
likewise.
your continued support.
Right. Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Bye.
Nia contente bele hasuri ya.
Bele.
Okay.
Ami hindi.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. Okay.
Bye.
Katja, I'm just going to try and elaborate on with the answer that Domingus asked for about material. So just so that your viewers can understand mine and Kar Yee's sort of investment out here. Each farmer that we work with, and we work with 130 now directly, we try to supply them with the materials that will allow them to independently process their own specialty coffee, which is one drying rack, one they call it a Baudi fermentation bucket, and one tarpaulin to salt cherry on, which is it's about $45 per member. And over the last 5 years, we've been trying to ensure that each member has at least one set. We're not quite there yet because it's taking time. But once again, because you support us, we set aside a certain amount of money from the sales of our coffee that allows us to come back and reinvest, increase the quantity of volume of coffee that we buy, and also buy more material for our partner farmers. So we're hoping by next year that all 140 farmers will be equipped with a drying rack, Baudi, a fermentation bucket, and a tarpaulin, which will give them that ability to not have to sell their coffee to commercial buyers and can maintain or can garner a good price for their parchment.
Yeah. How about this group then? Do they all are they still? I think 9 farmers. It was last year, no? 9 members of this group.
They all have the equipment that's needed, including a new pulping machine last year, which is great if they have the capacity to use 10-meter drying beds. That's 20 meters of drying space is quite a lot. We're willing to increase materials for our members, but not until everybody that we work with has received at least one. So this year, our members by 25 new members that we have, and we've prioritized on those guys. But can I just say, Katja, once again, thanks again, and to your viewers, to the people that buy your coffee, and to you, thank you for supporting us. Massively appreciated, and I'm glad that
for putting in all the work. I know that I've seen your videos. I know that because these guys are very religious and they take breaks on a Sunday, that you are prone to pick up the slack and getting your hands dirty on a Sunday yourself. No, so it is really hard work. I think on this end of the value chain, we don't really get a clear idea of how backbreaking growing coffee can be, especially in some regions like in Tau-Rema. So thank you so much for monitoring the quality, for being there, for for just doing all of it. It's amazing. I'm in awe.
Very kind of you to stay. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here. It's an incredible place to be, but it's nice. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's nice to be appreciated. So thank you for that, and thank you for promoting East Timorese coffee. Really appreciated. But in the meantime, thanks again, Katja, and enjoy the rest of your Friday.
You too. I hope you get down the mountain safely.
So do I. So I have to call on.
All right.
See you later.
Thank you, Stewart. See you later. Bye.